Welcome back to the 2024 player review analysis of every single Collingwood player that is on our list and has played AFL games. And today we're going to be talking about Mr. Beau, Bugsy McCreery. But just quickly, I do want to mention that we now have made some adjustments to the membership perk system and are now including early access to a bunch of videos throughout the week, as well as a members only live stream where we're sort of just chatting and chilling, hot tub type of stream where we can just chill out and have a chat. So if you guys want to jump on board and get involved and not miss out on the early access and the member only live streams, considering joining the membership for $5 a month. So nevertheless, let's get back into what you guys all clicked this video for, and that is reviewing Bugsy's season. Beau, what do we know Beau for? Well, firstly, where did he come from? He was a mature age recruit from the Sandful and was drafted in 2020 at pick 44, and he's now 23 years old. I tend to forget that Beau is much younger than what I think he is just because of his build. And when you hear mature age recruit, you tend to naturally assume, okay, well, they have to be 25, 26. Well, no, if you're not drafted as a top age, you're essentially considered a mature age recruit. So that's what Beau is. But nevertheless, he is a part of that young cloth that Collingwood have. And while it is not the biggest cloth, when you've got Isaac Quaynor, Bobby Hill, Nick Dacos, and Beau McCreery probably leading the charges there, and Josh Dacos, he might be a little bit over. It's not the biggest pool in our age bracket where we do have the over 35s that are quite prominent, but this is a very important age bracket, and Beau has the question we're going to be asking is, what is Beau's ceiling in his career? And I think there is much more to be turned over and to be seen with Beau. We know him as this pressure forward, and his stats definitely point to that this year. He was a top 5 general forward for tackles and tackles inside 50 amongst general forwards. And we can look back at that Western Bulldogs game where he had a career high 14 tackles, which was just monumental. And these tackles are super important because what he does best is he rolls into stoppages when we're higher up the ground as a forward and really clogs the midfield. And when we have players like Pendlebury, Mitchell, Sidebottom, Goey, who are at times a bit slow against the young budding midfielders in the league, like your Sydneys who have Gould and Warner, Heaney, and then you've got Port Adelaide, Butters, Rosie, Horne-Francis, we're going to be made to look a little bit slow if the ball gets out on the outer layer of that contest. And players like Bugsy are the ones who make us look much faster than what we are within those stoppages and can't put a value on it. And I regretfully admit that at one point this year, didn't see Beau McCreery making our best 22 if we were to play finals. That was the video. So I regret making that video as well because I said, what is Collingwood? This is my predicted 22 for Collingwood's final series. We didn't end up making it. Newsflash. And I feel like at the early points of the season, I just didn't think the output was there from Beau. And I had high standards for him because you look at, I guess, the disposal output, it didn't take, or it wasn't increased relative to last year, despite being in the midfield a little bit more. 10% of the centre bounces he was in this year, which is more than any year. He had an opportunity to play in the midfield. He played against Carlton and he started well. Unfortunately got concussed and missed that game. And then the game that springs to mind later in the year where he was pushed into the midfield was that North Melbourne game when Luke Davies-Uniacke had 20 touches in the first half and Beau was able to limit him to just 10 in that second half, which led to that massive comeback win. So there's potential for Beau to be this run-with player in the midfield, but what's holding him down with these disposals, sure, 10 disposals, fine, it's not great. When you're a role player, you can typically accept that, but it's in the fashion that he uses the ball at times. He's a bit of a munger. He's top 5 in the league for general forwards for clangers per disposal, which is going to hurt you if you are trying to add the string to your bow to be a midfielder and play higher up the ground. Usually when he gets the ball, he just hacks it or is a clanger and results in a turnover. So I think that's going to be needs to be a massive point of emphasis in Beau's off/pre-season, and maybe just needs to spend a few days a week with Nick Dacos at the training ground in the off-season and just teach him composure. And I say that loosely and not with not a great deal of optimism because composure is hard to teach. And that's the difference between Nick Dacos and Sam Walsh. That's the difference between Scott Pendlebury and Patrick Cripps. Their composure with their use by foot is something you can't teach and is invaluable. And those are the players that win you the games when you need someone kicking the ball inside 50. And right now you can't say you want Beau being that guy, kicking the ball inside 50. But he also didn't win the ball a whole lot in the contest when he wasn't in midfield. Granted, it was limited. So I'm putting that to the side right now, and I still think there's an opportunity there, which is why I still think Beau's ceiling is quite high. Can he be a Tom Mitchell sort of player with much more speed in the midfield once he gets a bit more opportunity? And we know right now with our midfield makeup, there's opportunity now more than ever for Beau to really grow as a player and become some sort of rolling midfielder. Whether even if it's 20% time spent in the midfield, I think his speed and tenacity would be appreciated in that midfield at times. I remember that Gold Coast game where he had injured his calf maybe halfway through the game, and that 4-game stretch, Gold Coast, Brisbane, Essendon, and Geelong. I know off the top of my head now, I've said it so much, those 4 games, that stretch kills me. We missed Beau then. We looked slower than ever without Beau in that team. Lockie Schultz missed games in that period, and we just looked like a completely different team. And that just points to the importance of these general forwards who don't get the ball a whole lot, but systematically they are integral to the makeup of this team. So Beau is important there, but I think he has potential to extend his game into another domain, and that's that midfield game. So hopefully we potentially see that. What else did we note? Half a goal a game, we mentioned, has an inkling for a clutch goal every now and then. I refer to late in the years, typically against Carlton in that 2022 year from the boundary, and then that check side goal against Brisbane. So he has that clutch gene in him. I've dubbed him, I've given him the clutch gene license and can take difficult shots when needed late in the game because we've seen him do that. But again, his accuracy in front of goal is woeful. Sub 40% accuracy in the bottom 10 of the general forward department, and is sitting there along with his buddy Bobby Hill. So if we can get those guys to bump that up to 45%, heck, 50%, that goes a long way in winning games. And when you lose close games like the Sydney game, and what else was another close game that we lost? We didn't lose too many close games, but just generally speaking, good kicking is good footy. So that's what we want. So 2025, more midfield opportunity for Beau. Can we get more scoring output from Beau? I think he's got it in him. And with that competitive nature, I think that can take him a long way. He's very laid back. If you listen to the podcast he's sat in on, he's a very laid back guy in nature, and on the field is where he sort of releases the hound. So hopefully we can see more of that in 2025. And I'll hand over the question to you. What is Beau McCreery's ceiling in 2025 and beyond for that matter? Can you see Beau McCreery averaging 15 disposals a game, kicking a goal, and still remaining as an elite pressure forward? Or will this be Beau McCreery for his career, just this really, really good role player, which is not a bad thing, but which way do you think it ends up going? Go Pies.